Hello, my name is Jason. He is
Monty.
And welcome to Chronicles of Truth. Today we're going to be telling the story of the assassination of King Eglon. And this story can be found in Judges chapter 3. And it all starts off very simply. The children of Israel, many times they did in the book of Judges, they sinned against God. And he allowed the land of Moab to come in and take over them and rule over them. But the king of Moab was named Eglon. And one of the first things the Bible says about this guy, which is hilarious, it says he was a very fat man. Now, if you're just reading this story, you may think that's kind of funny, and many of the team members do as well. It's kind of hilarious in effect, but it does actually come back and it makes sense now. But children of Israel then turned from their sin after 18 years, and God raised up a deliverer named Ehud. You can tell the rest of that story.
Just a side note, he says the children of Israel turned against God and then came back to us. If you're reading through the book of Judges, look for that in at least every other chapter.
It's a common thing.
This happens every 100 years, or a lot of times a lot less.
You have to give more credit for that.
But anyways, so the children of Israel turned from God and came back to him. And Ehud.
I suppose you can say it.
How do you?
I'm sorry.
How do you pronounce it?
Ehud?
All right, Ehud. Okay.
Whichever way.
He was sent from the Israelites with a gift for the king. So he goes to the king. He gets past the guards, and I don't know how security was.
Yeah, neither do I.
That's an interesting topic, actually.
Yeah.
So he goes through security, and he had hidden a dagger, as you would call it.
Yeah.
The Bible says it was a cubit in width, in length, which means that it was from his wrist to his elbow. You study Hebrew.
Yeah, and measurements.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exact. Yeah. But he had hit it in the right side, on his right side, basically, as you would picture it, because he was a left-handed man.
Yes.
Which allowed him to conceal it because they, of course, would shake his right hand. They would check him. But they would usually check their left side, because if you're going to draw a dagger, of course, you're going to reach in like that. Just a little tidbit on weaponry use in the Bible.
Sorry, we're going to continue.
Go ahead.
Okay, never mind.
Just go ahead.
Okay, I will. So I just really want to focus on this. And this is really, really cool. As he comes up to the king and he's sort of looking him in the eye, he's like, I have a message for you. And the king's just like normal. He's like, okay, send everybody out. I got to talk to this guy one-on-one. And here's what he says. He comes up to the king, and it notes that it's in his summer house. Did you read this? It's in his summer house, which means that usually you feel comfortable there. So this king was obviously very comfortable. He's a fat guy, and he's probably eating something. Probably just got done eating, most probably. And he comes right up to the king, says, I have a message from God for you. And he takes out this dagger, and he stabs him. And it actually says the sword or the dagger went all the way through, stuck out the other side, and then the hilt came in after it. And the fat overlapped the sword or the dagger. That, now, may sound funny, but it's not. It actually is kind of horrific. It's a horrible thing.
But I want you to imagine, if they're talking the size of a dagger.
Let's not talk about imagining things like that.
No,
family show.
The size of the dagger was a cubit. Now,
yes.
Of course, if you look genetically, people were probably a lot smaller back then. But it was still the size of his wrist to his elbow. And that's probably just the blade. I'm not going on any fact right there, but that's probably just the blade.
And it says that it disemboweled him, which I'm not going to get too explicit here because we are a family show. But if you understand what disemboweled means, it's not fun, and you can do your research on that. It's not fun. And then Ehud, it says, locked the doors behind him, and the servants thought Eglon was relieving himself, so they were embarrassed to go in, so they waited until this guy actually bled to death. And so then Ehud got away, and he led a bunch of Israelites up against the best of Moabite men, and he won, and they killed over 10,000 of the best Moabite soldiers that day. And that is how God delivered all of Israel just with an 18-inch dagger. That's pretty cool. So I think that's everything for today's video, unless you have anything to add.
No.
Okay. So with all that said and done, my name is Jason. He is
Monty.
signing off.